Hello everyone, welcome back into the studio for part 6 of our Michelangelo Master Copy video series. Today we're going to focus on modeling the surface, which just means rendering or resolving the surface in fancy sculptor terms. If you're interested in seeing more, check out my Patreon page, linked below, where there are longer videos. Let's get into it. What is a form? A form is a positive volume that we can identify on the surface of our reference, be it a live model or photo reference. Each one of these shapes, outlined here, are forms. And the whole body is made up of a ton of forms. We identify forms using a combination of what we see in front of us and what we can know to be true about the human body. Knowledge of anatomy, essentially, right? You don't want to superimpose your knowledge of anatomy on top of your reference, however, as then you'll be making something different than what you're referencing. Instead, try to do it the other way around. Superimpose your reference onto your knowledge of anatomy. Each form has a set of variables that we can try to manipulate to make them look like what we'd like them to look like. Some of these variables are not so quantifiable, which means you can't easily measure them and there is a certain taste and style involved. So each form is going to have shape, plane, volume, and transition, and by manipulating each of these intentionally, we can control the result that we get. Let's break them down and talk about them one at a time. Shape is perhaps the simplest thing about form to understand and break down. Shape is the outline of the form, but even this is of course somewhat nebulous. Students will often ask me where one form ends and where another one begins, and this can be hard to answer since there is a zone of transition between every form and no or very few hard lines that we can easily say this is the border of the form. This means you have to simply decide for yourself. I'll usually treat a positive volume as one form, and where we enter into negative form territory, that's where I'll say one form ends and another one begins. Negative form territory being where we have this sort of valley between the forms, if you will, which is essentially the zone for the transition. To judge this, I'll use light and shadow on the surface of my reference and my knowledge of anatomy. Shape is really vital since it's perhaps one of the major hallmarks of the style that you create your work in. All the shapes put together constitutes your shape design, or perhaps it's better to say that how all the shapes fit together, thus every individual shape is part of or is your shape design. When you see me draw on the surface here, I'm adjusting the shapes of my forms and thus improving the shape design, hopefully. As a form is a positive volume, you could simplify it into planes. Each form will have a set of planes, usually a positive plane facing the light, a neutral plane which is oblique to the light, and a negative plane which faces away from the light. Sometimes it's possible to observe these planes on the form. For example, if a form runs along the outline of the figure, the contour of the figure, you can then observe the planes of the form or a small section of the form by observing the contours. More often than not, it's not so easy to observe, however, and thus we use light and shadow and intuition to develop the planes of the form. I'll rarely develop the planes in such a simple manner that I'll have clean angle breaks. It would make the piece look rather mechanical, so I don't like to do that. So instead, I'll create organic and rounded forms while thinking carefully about the planes and looking at each form through the prism of planes. If you struggle with this, a good tip is to use the shape of the form as a guide to where the plane breaks are within the form. There tends to be a correlation between the shape and where we find the plane breaks. You can sort of take the line of the outline of the shape, the design of the shape, and move it inside the form itself, and it tends to line up somewhat decently with where the plane breaks are within the shape. It's not always the case, and it doesn't always work perfectly, but it works more or less and sometimes, and I think it's a good trick. Since our sculpture is not a robot suit, each form needs volume. Volume is essentially what exists between the contours of our form, and it's determined to a certain extent by the two things we discussed already. In the same way that some planes can be determined by observing the contour of the reference, the same can be said for volume. Volume can simply be described as how round or full a form is. Without control over the planes within the form, however, volume can become very generic and the figure can easily look a little too much like a Michelin man, just sort of bump after bump after bump. Planes controls and keeps the volume under control and keeps it from getting too generic and simple, in other words. Thus, the two must work together carefully, and I guess this is true for all of these elements that we're talking about actually. Volume is perhaps the hardest one to overcome though, I think, because it's super hard to observe in most cases, and more often than not, work looks flat and not volumetric and full enough. Too much volume is rarely a critique we have to give, so that probably tells us that volume is tricky. Volume can be placed at the wrong time before the piece is ready for it, there's no doubt about that. But once a student learns to pace themselves and place the volume at the correct time and when the sculpture is ready for it, and that usually means hopefully in the right place as well, they'll still, even though they put it in the right place, they still put too little volume, and the work as a result looks a little flat and a little more boring than it should. Volume is largely responsible for the value range of a figure. A broader value range with brighter lights and darker darks needs volume. Too little volume and the result can be a bit boring and a bit grey, lacking in contrast. And some people prefer this look, and that's fine. I don't, but each to their own. Volume, since it's so hard to objectively quantify, is therefore something that can be considered part of someone's style to a certain extent, I think. Finally, we have transition. Transition is the zone between forms where one form moves into another and they sort of blend together. The human body is of course not really separated by lines like a puzzle, but is one unified thing where everything moves into what's around it in a rather organic and soft way. Transitions are these zones between the forms where this happens. Transitions are actually rather easy to do if everything else above is contended with to a decent degree. There is also the trouble of making sure that the drawing is placed well from all four views, and if things are placed well in depth in relationship to each other, then the transitions will often happen almost with no work at all. A good example of this is the abdomen and the oblique. From the side, these two forms are not placed at the same depth, one sits behind the other. The oblique is situated deeper or further to the right as compared to the abdomen, which protrudes out in front of the oblique. If this is allowed to take place, then the transition between the two has a much greater chance of succeeding. This dynamic must then be observed for all forms, and we can't only draw them well in two dimensions, but must draw them well in 3 dimensions. Once this is taken care of, transitions are actually quite easy to do. I will simply put clay into the area between two forms and then glaze them together. Careful that when doing so, the transitions doesn't end up changing anything that it's not intended to be changed. Often the addition of transitions will change the shape of the form itself by accident, by sort of adding clay to one form or the other and sort of pushing the drawing around, pushing the shape around. Avoid this by making sure the transition is its own plane between the positive and negative planes of two forms and not the same plane as either of the two forms being transitioned together. This way you'll dodge moving the forms as you add clay for the transitions. Sort of think of it as if there's a zone between the two. When transitioning forms together, issues will often reveal themselves. If your shapes go from 2 to 1 when transitioning, then the two forms were likely lacking in volume and thus not able to survive the addition of clay in between them without turning into one form. It could also be that the two forms were not placed well in 3 dimensions and that there was a lack of depth between them, which turns them into one sometimes. Transitioning the forms together tends to be the one thing that exposes issues with what you've already done, what we've already listed and talked about above. And because of this, it can't be done with the mind on autopilot. Plenty of students have lost a lot of time on their projects by transitioning forms into one another blindly, only then to realize once they step back that they've lost all their drawing and the sculpture looks flat and boring. To avoid this issue, step back a lot when transitioning forms together and work zone by zone, making adjustments to where you're working until you achieve the intended result. Stepping back changes how we perceive values, and so up close something might look nice, but when you step back it doesn't look so good after all. Stepping back is therefore key, since most people are going to approach your work from a distance, and therefore their first impression of your work is from a distance, not up close. Sculpture must work from a distance first, and then it should work up close as well. I would even go so far as to say that working from a distance for a sculpture is mandatory, while working up close is optional and down to style and perhaps intent. We'll often call these four things combined modeling form. Modeling form is simply creating the surface of your sculpture, but not in terms of how smooth it is. More in terms of the topography of that surface and how that topography looks. It's not that these four elements that we're looking to manipulate are steps really either. We don't need to do one and then do the next one and then the next one. The process is much more fluid than that, and as you've seen in this video, lots of modeling takes place in the block in stages. I'll often consider shape early, but it gets more detailed the later in we get into the process. Plane and volume are dealt with together. Plane with no volume just looks too robotic and mechanical for my taste, and I prefer to not let my sculptures ever look like that, so I introduce both of these at the same time. When the forms do have volume, I'll very often return to clarify the plane changes within them, which is a bit easier to do when there's already volume present, in my opinion, because with volume you can see light and shadow. Volume is also added constantly, and only when we see the final piece can we get a real feel for if we've added enough volume. Transition is perhaps the thing that is the most separate, but it's also applied in stages usually. Transitions also give plenty of hints about how much more volume I need or can get away with, so I usually find that once the transitions come into play, I go back and have to add more volume, adjusting the shapes as I go, and then redo or at least adjust some of the transitions as well to then fit the new topography with more volume a little bit better. Presenting the four elements of modeling in this very structured way, one by one, makes it much easier for me to talk about, and hopefully much easier for you to understand as well, but do understand that in reality, its application is much more fluid than that. Thank you for watching until the end of the video. I hope you learned a thing or two in this video that you can take with you into your own practice. If you want to learn more, see longer videos, or perhaps get feedback on your own work, check out my Patreon page. There's a link in the description below this video. Thank you for watching, and until next time, stay creative.